Hello everyone, this e-content describes about the summary of the poem Ode to Nightingale written by John Keats. The text of the poem, stanza 1. My heart aches and the drowsy numbness pains my sense as though hemlock I had drunk, or emptied some dull opiate to the drains. 1 minute passed and Lethe wards had sunk. It is not through envy of happy lot, but being too happy is thine happiness, that thou light winged giant of the trees, in some melody's plot, of beechens green and shadows numberless, singlest of summer in the fullest throated ease. Stanza 1. These are the opening lines of John Keats' famous poem Ode to Nightingale. Keats feels fascinated by the song of the nightingale that he hears in the grove near the cottage of his friend Brown. On hearing this bird's song, Keats' heart experiences a sensation of pain, but this is a pain caused by excess of joy. The melody of Nightingale's song is so sweet that it has intoxicated the very sense of the poet. These senses are drenched into a sort of numbness which that results that he is a state of almost completely insensibility. He feels as if he had drunk to his full some preparation of opium or a juice of hemlock. This sense have become a lethargic and inactive to the extent that he had forgotten everything. He seems that he had drunk the water of Lethe, the river of unforgetfulness in the classical underworld. Hence, the music of Nightingale's song exercises a hypnotic influence of drug, as a result of which poet loses consciousness of his surrounding. Naturally, Keats' worldly experiences are painful as soon as he hears the pleasing music of the nightingale. He forgets his experiences. Very naturally, he refers to some narcotics like opium and hemlock and even river Lethe. Keats makes it clear that a mood of languor and forgetfulness has not been brought upon him by any feeling of jealousy of the nightingale's joy. He is not envious of its happiness, but he is excessively happy because of the bird's happy lot. In such a mood, Keats imagines the world of Nightingale where it is singing the melodious song, like diet a wood nymph, a bird of singing a piece of grassy land where the green birch trees are growing. The beechen plot is surrounded with the sweet melody of Nightingale's song. The song is full of assertion, promise, and cheerful expectancy of summer season. The nightingale is singing effortlessly and spontaneously in loud voice. Here, Keats' art of word painting is praiseworthy. The Sullivan world of Nightingale is portrayed with the help of such expression as Melody's plot, Witchin's green and shadow numberless. Melody's plot is very felicitous and bold expression indicating a dark foliage of the tree, which hides the nightingale and resounds with its music. It is this expression there is a use of transferred epithet also, as it is not the plot which is melodious, but the nightingale. The full-throated ease of nightingale represents the restfulness of and the absence of strain which ever accompany the perfection of art. The drowner, thus Keats has indicated the basic quality of art. Stanza 2. Of the drought of vintage that has been, cool long age in the deep dwelled earth, tasting the flora and the country green, dance and provincial song, sun-burnt mirth, of for the breaker full of the warm south, full of the true and the blushful hypocrisy, with the beaded bubbleness wrinkle at the brim, the purple-stained mouth, and might drink and leave the world unseen, and with thee fade away into the forest dim. The song of the nightingales is so sweet that he has intoxicated the sense of the poet. He feels that as if he drank some opium or a water of Lethe, the river of forgetfulness. He is also too happy in the bird's happiness. In the world of Beechin's Green, the nightingale is singing a summer of full-throated ease. The poet longs to migrate to this blissful world of the nightingale. In these lines, Keats expresses a very strong desire to drink wine that he has been stored and cooled for a long time under the earth. An admit of wine is sought to escape with the nightingale from this world of fever and fret to the world of idle beauty. Keats thinks that the wine that he will recall of his mind, the choicest flowers that have been countryside and also dancing, musing, and merrymaking and feasting, the sunburst peasants of Provence, which is famous for its jollity, fun, and wines. The song of the nightingales is so sweet that he has intoxicated the sense of the poet. He feels that as if he drank some opium or a water of Lethe, the river of forgetfulness. He is also too happy in the bird's happiness. In the world of Beechin's Green, the nightingale is singing a summer of full-throated ease. The poet longs to migrate to this blissful world of the nightingale. In these lines, Keats expresses a very strong desire to drink wine that he has been stored and cooled for a long time under the earth. An admit of wine is sought to escape with the nightingale from this world of fever and fret to the world of idle beauty. Keats thinks that the wine that he will recall of his mind, the choicest flowers that have been countryside and also dancing, musing, and merrymaking and feasting, the sunburst peasants of Provence, which is famous for its jollity, fun, and wines. Keats refers to the region of South France of Italy or the North Italy, which are wine producing provinces. The provincial song refers to the song of the minstrel of Provence, the south portion of the France along the Mediterranean. The sun is quite strong in the south France of or the North Italy. The grapes gathered are sunburnt. According to Robertson, the people are not mentioned at all. Yet it is phrase sunburnt beneath conjures upon the picture of Mary, laughing sunburned peasants are surely as good long descriptions. The reference of the wine is also shows Keats' sensuousness, the delicious vintage, the carefree pleasure of the troubadours that sources are sensuous gratification of the past. Keats carves for the doses of the invigorating wine of the South Europe. He would like to drink pure and red color wine which flows from Hippocrene, a fountain sacred to the Muses. Keats would also be highly delighted to drink the globlet of sparkling wine that will redden his mouth and lips when he drinks it. Under the intoxication of such wine, the poet longs to escape from this miserable world to the thickly shaded grove and beech trees where the nightingale is singing. The line with the beaded hubbles, the brim suggests that the picture of the beautiful dancing girl blushing and winking at her lover. The wine has been described as a red, as blushes as a maiden, and the bubbles rising and breaking the brim of the breaker remind the poet of the opening and closing of her eyes. The edge of the cup of the are also red, denoting a red lips of the maiden. Hippocrene refers to the fountain sacred to the muse of Mount Helicon. Pegasus in Greek mythology is said to be winged horses which sprang from the blood of Medusa. When Perseus cuts off her head and fountain Hippocrene was said to have been produced by the stamp of the hoof of Pegasus, the symbol of poetic inspiration. The wine flowing from the fountain of Hippocrene is therefore symbolic of poetic inspiration. Stanza 3 fade far away, dissolve, and quite forget. And what though among the leaves hadst never known the weariness, the fever, and the fret? Here where men sit, and here each other gone, where plenty shakes a few, and sad and last grey hairs, whether youth grows pale and spectre thin and dies, where but they think to be full of sorrow, the laden eyes despairs, where beauty cannot keep her lustrous eyes, or new pine at them beyond tomorrow. Kids want to escape from this miserable world to the world of Nightingale, which knows no pain and miserable in this world. Keats describes us the experiences which the Nightingale has known. Human beings have been experiencing unending fatigue, the depressing and tiresome condition of life, the feverish struggle and cares of the world. On account of these, people here are constantly suffering under the agonies of pain. At every stage of life, human beings are afflicted with pain. The old and gray-haired men are afflicted to such a disease as plastic. Young men wither and grow ghost-like pale and ultimately dies premature death. Every thought of life fills a man with sorrow and grief. In his share there he was always disappointed as reflected in the downcast eyes. Finally, Keats sums up the poor state of life where beauty is transcendent and is so endangered by it. In this life, lustre of eyes of so beautiful a woman soon faded away, and the love of for such beauty also does not last long. In these lines, the miseries of the lives are generalized, but the Downer remarks the mood and enshrined the poetic stains is illuminated by actual sorrows of the poet himself. The whole stanza depicts the supreme misery of the mankind. The Keats wrote this ode soon after the death of his brother Tom, and whom he had loved devotedly and nursed to the end. Therefore, the dejection of the poet, as expressed in these lines, is very natural. About the last two lines, Downer has remarked that the last two lines are perfect. Lecherous eyes is full of beauty, so is the music of the whole, the solitary instance of the feminine entering, and the sorrow and the morrow in the poem led itself well to the pathos of the stanzas. Keats contrasts the ideas of the last two lines are referring to the permanence of love and beauty in art, and forever wilt thou love and she be fair. Stanza 4 Away, away, for I will fly to thee, nor charioted by bachelors and spirits, but on the viewless wings of poesy, though the dull brain perplexes and retards. Already with thee tender in the night, and haply the queen moon in the on her throne cluster around by all her stray face, but there is no light, save what from heaven is with a breeze blown. Through the wondrous glooms and winding mossy ways, in this stanza the speaker expresses a desire to escape mundane concerns and reach a higher state of inspiration and creativity. The speaker imagines the flying of the skylark using the intangible wings of the poetry as opposed to of being carried by batches and the god of wine and his leopards. The use of the term viewless wings of poesy underscores the idea that the poetry has the power of transcend physical limitations and transport the speaker to the realm of imagination and inspiration. The stanza also acknowledges the challenges of human thinking, dull brain perplexes and retards. In this contrast to the skylark effortless flight of the song, this line reflects the speaker's longing to connect with the skylark's sublime beauty and the transformative power of the artistic expression. Kids want to fly to the world of the nightingale. He will go to the blissful world not with the help of wine, but on the invisible wings of the imagination, even though his reason would obstruct his flight by its insistence upon the realities of life. The poet's imagination is so swift that With the thought of it, he finds himself transported to the beautiful world of the nightingale. He cannot resist the temptation of describing the beauty of this world. Here, the moon, which he likes the queens of the sky, is sitting on her throne surrounded by the fairies, that is, the stars. Though the moon is bright, there is no light except that is which brought from above when the breezes move the leaves and branches of the trees. The dense foliage is stripped by the breeze, and moonlight streams through the opening of the foliage. The gloom is due to the density of the green foliage is in the springtime that is occasionally dissipated by the sudden penetrations of the light blown in. The scene described by Keats is imagined, as we know. Ode was composed on the morning. However, the scene reveals Keats' pictorial powers. With the help of an imagination, he paints a beauty picture of nature. Stanza 5. I cannot see what the flowers are at my feet, nor what incense hangs upon the boughs. But the emblemed darkness guess each sweet, wherein the seasonable month endows. The grass thickest and the fruit tree wild, white hath thrown and the pastoral elegiac. Fast fading violet covered up in the leaves, the mid-May eldest child, the coming musk rose full of dew wine, the murmurous haunt of flies on the summer eve. On the viewless wings of the imagination, Keats migrates the world of the nightingale. There is a gloom due to the density of the green foliage, but now then the light is brought from the above when the breeze moves the leaves and the branches of the trees. The darkness of the forest obstructs the visual employment of the poet. He is not able to see what the trees and flowers are growing around him, nor it is able to notice what sweet smelling blooms and growing on the branches of the tree. But the darkness is sweetened by these flowers, as the whole atmosphere is pervaded by the sweet fragrance of flowers. Though the poet is not able to see the flowers, he can certainly recognize each of them their fragrances. He can guess the grass and the bushes of the various flowers which the flowery month of the May has produced. The poet can also guess the sweet blossom growing on the wild fruit trees in the forest. He can guess by the smell what white hawthorn, elignite violet with the fade to quickly, as well as the musk rose, the first flower of the bloom in the middle May, are fully growing here. The sweet juices of the musk rose will attract the multitudes of the humming bees. The other words of the musk roses will be a favorite haunt for the buzzing bees. The poet can enjoy all these aspects of nature with the help of the sense of perception. Here is a rich feast for the senses. Keats is a sensuous poet. Hence, while describing nature, he refers to the various flowers, etc., which appeal to the sense of sight, smell, and touch. The last line of the music is no longer vowel is noteworthy. It is a perfect example of onomatopoeia. A line sounds which echoes a sense. The repetitions of S imitates a sibilant hum of the flies which pleases the ears. Stanza 6. Darling, I listen, and for many of time I have been half in love with easeful death, called him soft names in many of the mute rhyme, to take into the air of my quiet breath. Now more than ever seems it to rich time, to seize upon the midnight with no pain. And while thou art pouring forth thy soul abroad, in such an ecstasy, still wouldn't thou sing, I have ears in vain, to thine requiem became a sword. Keats has an ecstatic experiences which he hears the song of the nightingale. In the darkness, when he hears a song, he feels that it is the most blessed moment of his sorrow-ridden life. Then the poet is so much filled with the ecstatic delight of the song of the nightingale that he thinks it might be most appropriate moment to die. And then Key says that he has an instinctive attraction for the death because death would end up all his troubles. Death would soothe him. Therefore, often his thoughts he claims upon the death and appeal to be put its stop to his life. Now, at this moment, he is happiest mood. Therefore, this is the best time for him to embrace death. He would like to die a painless death at his house of the midst when he nightingale is pouring in rapturous song of the profuse strain. The nightingale would continue to sing even when the poet is dead, and he would no longer able to hear its song. He would be deaf, okay, to the noble and mournful song when he turns into a piece of earth after earth. There is a latent sense of sorrow in these lines. The poet is happy, but when he hears a sweet song of the nightingale, but he is at the same time conscious and his miseries in the world. Therefore, he wants to embrace death to the end in the misfortunes. Downer calls Keats' feeling as sensuous in the highest degree at the end, at the same time sentimental and reflective. Stanza 7. Thou wast not born for death, immortal bird, no hungry generation tread these down. The voice I hear this passing night was heard in ancient days by emperor and clown, perhaps the self same song that found a path through the sad heart of Ruth. When sick for home, she stood in tears amid the alien corn, the same that of times hath charm, magic, sacement, opening on the form. The pillory sees in the fairyland forlorn. Keats feels that he should die at the moment when he is listening to the sweet song of the nightingale, for that he is happiest moment and therefore the most appropriate to death. While he is in the thinking of death for himself, he becomes conscious of immortal of the bird. Keats considers the nightingale as immortal. According to him, it is wood destined to die. It is not a subject of ruthless struggle for existence as the generation of the human being are. Human beings are very hungry for one another's blood, but the nightingale is free from this human vice. Its song has been a source of joy of human being. The song which the nightingale is singing in the passing night is the same which must have been heard and enjoyed by the rich and the poet alike centuries ago. The identical song must have gratified the ears of Caesar or a Charles Manage, the husbandman or a peasant of countryside. According to Keats, bird song is immortal. The immortality of the nightingale leads to the poet's back of the biblical references of the past and the past legendary romance. The first he takes examples of the Bible. The song which the poet is listening to the night was also heard by Ruth, who stood weeping on the cornfield away from the native land. Here Ruth worked in the field of her husband's relatives, but her heart was depressed and homesick, in which moment the song of the nightingale gave consolation to Ruth. Keats means that the melodious voice of the nightingale is the same as when the Ruth heard it. When Keats takes up the romantic illusion to illustrate his ideas, according to him, the voice in which a nightingale is singing at the same time is same as well as with the delightful and bewitched effect upon the windows of the castle that stood on the seashore. Keats here wants his reader to imagine a fairy castle, strange and enchanted, situated on some desolate or a lonely land. This is perhaps a castle in which some beautiful maiden or a princess is imprisoned. The windows of the castle opens towards the strong ocean, with the foam waves striking against one another. Maiden standing on the window with a sad heart, listening to the song of the nightingale, and feels relieved in her distress. Thus, the song of the nightingale is immortal. It was heard long ago by Ruth and also some captive maiden in some of enchanted land. These lines are the finest lines in the whole poetry of Keats. According to Downer, we read the words and seems to behold the high romance and the shadowy chanters' castles in the kingdom by the sea, lonely towers to which encloses imprisoned princes held in a duress. And when rich full of notes of nightingale catches upon her captive ears, she opens her window and listens and look out over the wild waves for the ship that shall bring the night to her deliverance. The last two lines represents the high water mark of the pure romanticism, the touch of the supernatural mystery, and above all the suggestiveness of these lines have made them a test by which pure romantic poetry can be judged and measured. Stanza 8 Forlorn, the very word is like a bell to toll me back from thee to my soul self. Adieu, the fancy cannot cheat so well as she is framed to do, deceiving elf. Adieu, adieu, thy plaintive anthem fades past the near meadows, over the still stream, up the hillside now, and it's buried deep in the next valley glades. Was its vision or a waking dream? Fled in that music, do I wake or sleep? This specific section is not a stanza of its own, but rather a part of a poem that follows the lines you have previously provided. In these lines, the speaker reflects that the word forlorn and its impacts on their emotions. The speaker describes the word as being akin to the bell, which serves as a tolling reminder, pulling them away from the connections they felt with the skylark and back to their own isolated state. This reflection of contrast between the skylark uplifting presence of the speaker's own feeling of isolated and loneliness. Its further emphasized transformative effect of skylark's presences has been the speaker's emotions and thoughts. Towards the end of Ode to Nightingale, Keats again begins to feel lonely. The word forlorn of the previous stanza sounds like a bell of cautious that the poetic dream cannot last forever, and that the poet should once again back to the stern realities of life. Keats bids farewell to the Nightingale song as his day's dream is broken. His escape from the world of realities to an imaginative world of Nightingale, but it was where imagination cannot help for a long. Now, a person, after all, has to face the realities of life. Imagination can also make us forget ourselves only for a short while. It can deceive us like a fairy, but it cannot be transformed or a lot. Therefore, a poet again bids farewell to the nightingale, whose tender and passionate song is gradually fading into a fields nearby. Then the bird flies away, still farther over the quiet stream upon the hillside, and finally is lost into next valley. Thus, the voice of the nightingale grows finally inaudible, and the dream of the poet is broken. And yet, the poet wakes from the dream of the wonders, where it was actually song that he was hearing and mere vision. The music of the song is now no more. The poet's return to life of realities, but still he is not able to decide whether he is awake or sleeping. The last lines of the full of the pathos, the poet's illusion is broken. He has decided to forget the weirdness of the fever and the fret, the world by sharing and joy of the immortal bird. But imagination can give him only temporary relief. It can also beguile him forever. Thus, finally, the poet has come back to his daily consciousness.